Thank you for joining us back. Please comfortably find a place to connect as close as you can to the ground. We're about to begin.
Come, whoever you are, even if you've broken your vow 1,000 times. Come again. Come, whoever you are, even if you've broken your vow 1,000 times. Come again. Come, whoever you are, come again. Come, whoever you are, come again. Come, whoever you are, even if you've broken your vow 1,000 times. Come again. Come, whoever you are, even if you've broken your vow 1,000 times. Come again. Come, whoever you are, come again. Come, whoever you are, come again. Let's sing together. Come, whoever you are, even if you've broken your vow 1,000 times. Come again. Come, whoever you are, even if you've broken your vow 1,000 times. Come again. Come, whoever you are, come again. Come, whoever you are, come again.
Welcome back to this, what are we? A caravan of what? Wasn't that caravan in, not despair. We're not a caravan of despair. How's everybody fasting? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, this is the time when my family in Israel is starting to watch because they've broken their fast. Gmar Chatima Tova. I'm fasting great this year, so yay. Must be the love in the room. This is such a treat. We've started this many years ago, and it keeps on happening. On Yom Kippur afternoon, we invite leaders of faiths and artists to be with us at 1 Mint, Interfaith prayer for peace. And all the gods of all the faiths that are all one, all know that we need it. Maybe more than ever, but as much as we do. So I'm very honored that we have this afternoon several esteemed guests from Islam and Christianity, from the world of Zen. I got 2 sad cancellations. Lisa Anderson, who's a Protestant leader, African-American, lesbian, activist, preacher, has a cold. So she sadly can't be with us this afternoon.
But we'll be with her.
She said she might be watching. So Lisa, feel better. Join us next time. And sadly, Sheikh Fariha from the mosque down the road also was not able to join us because today's Eid al-Adha, Holy Muslim Day. But we're very, very honored that representing her and representing the community is our friend Mujadid Shah, who's an imam and a beautiful leader, who's with us, I think, 3 years ago. You were together with Juliet. So welcome back. Reverend Vince, who has hollered with us in the past, has come all the way from Brooklyn to raise some gospel joy is with us. Tom Block, who's a new friend, who's been devoting his art and his life to finding the Sufi Jewish connections, will tell us more about that and teach us about one of the secret hymns that many of us sing without knowing what it's about, and we'll sing that one together. David Broza, our beloved friend and teacher, was with us last night, is back again today to share a snippet of his peaceful prophecy work, to sing with us. And Yotam and Libby and Simone, thank you, sorry, are joining us to share with us some of their peace work from this past summer and lead us in another song. What have I missed? Reverend Koshin and Reverend Robert are going to be joining us just as we end to bring in spirit of Zen and chilling in with a closing meditation and blessing. And right from there, we're going to go into Neila and open those gates before they close on this day of atonement. So we have all these chairs up here for all of y'all. Wherever you are, come on up, join us. I think we're a lot of boys on stage. That was not the intention, I just want to say.
Even if you've broken your vow 1,000 times, come again. Come, whoever you are. Even if you've broken your vow 1,000 times, come again. Come, whoever you are. Come again. Come, whoever you are. Come again. Come, whoever you are. Even if you've broken your vow 1,000 times, come again. Come, whoever you are. Even if you've broken your vow 1,000 times, come again. Come, whoever you are. Come again. Come, whoever you are. Come again. Come, whoever you are. Even if you've broken
Eid Mubarak, Yahui. It really dawned on me only a few weeks ago, as we were preparing for Yom Kippur, that after the summer we've all had, that on this holiest day of the Jewish year, one of the holiest days on the Muslim calendars on the same day, and that Eid al-Adha, and Mujadid will explain a little bit more about it, although he told me he's not an explainer, it's just a prayer. So I'll say what I know. That this is the day in which, in the Muslim tradition, the sacrifice of Abraham is honored and celebrated, in which he was willing to sacrifice his son for the love of God. And we told that story just a week ago on Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, it is a complicated story. So you can tell us about the details. I'm going to stick to the big picture, that on this day, the children of Abraham, children of Hagar, the children of Sarah, all his other children, he had 6 more. So all of us are here together, just together, first of all, just the fact that we're here together. Amen. Dayenu, enough. We could just shut up and sit here, it's plenty. But we won't. That's so much. And that we get to be here and pray together on these sacred days together. And may it be that every Muslim on the planet today, and every Jew on the planet today, and every Christian on the planet today, and every person of every faith and no faith in some way feels what we are feeling here right now, that we can and we ought to, and it's a pleasure and a privilege to be in sacred space together. And that's why we're here praying for peace. So, take us into the Eid. That's you. Yes.
I should start with saying peace to everyone here. I know I'm kind of in an awkward situation here, but hopefully we can all rise above, the limited sort of. I like this. I like this saying of. I like this saying of Christ, and it helps me a lot. Not a lot. And he says a man should be born twice. I guess a woman too. Should be born twice, just like a bird is. Then only he is a man, or he's a human being. Let's put it this way. So a man or a human being should be born twice, just like a bird is born twice. That's very powerful. A bird is born twice, and so is a man born. A human being has to be born twice in order to really be a human being. Many of us might contemplate this and think about it this way, that a bird is born first into an egg, and then it breaks out of the egg. And so, I think it's a very profound teaching, because I think we have a limited perception of who we are. Sometimes, not all of us, sometimes, which is just this body. But in reality, we really are souls. And, the soul, one could say, really has one religion, which is love for God. So that's one place where we can all meet, and I think this is such a powerful teaching for all of us, that that we oppress ourselves by limiting ourselves to just looking at just the material form. But if we can transcend that and see that, we are a soul that is here now, I think, I feel, at least for me personally, I feel it's, it brings us together. And I think it makes us really who we are as human beings. I mean, we know in the Jewish tradition and the Christian tradition and the Islamic tradition as well, we have, we have the saying in the Quran. It says that, when God created Adam, he breathed of his own soul, of his own essence into Adam. And so even actually, if you think about it, by blood, even by blood, we're all related because our father was Adam and Eve, our mother was Eve. So, it helps me to look at each other in that way. So I invite you all to look at me in that way too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to lead us in a meditation. And this meditation is really a Sufi meditation. It's a zikr. And the zikr is basically, it's an Arabic word for remembrance. So it's a remembrance of God. This is obviously the one God, the transcendent God, that inshallah, hopefully we get to see with the eyes of our soul. So the idea is that we say La ilaha illallah, which in Arabic means literally no God but God, or one could say no other reality but the one reality, or everything else is false except for the one truth, which is God, the transcendent God, who is also obviously manifests himself and is immanent too. So those are both qualities that God has. So we continue that because obviously we find the immanence of God and we find the transcendence of God. And this is a way of purification of the soul. Right? And so the purification of the soul happens through calling the name of God. Eid al-Adha, I like the story of Eid al-Adha, which is about, do I have a couple more minutes to talk, or should we do the meditation?
Let's get into it.
Yeah, okay, all right. Sorry, I like to talk a lot. I give a long sermon.
Tell me about it.
I give a long sermon. My sermons are long. But, so, I'm going to say La ilaha illallah. And, some people might find the word Allah a little difficult, but Allah is the same God. All the Jews and Christians in Arabia also call God by the name Allah. So it's an Arabic word, that's it, I'm Indian, but I also call God by Allah. So, so feel free, it's the same God, Yahweh and the Father and everything else. So La ilaha illallah. And so what we do is we say La ilaha illallah by turning to our, just follow me, just see how I do it. But the idea is that God can be found in the heart, which we know, all of us know that. But it's a reality, it's not just like some kind of blind faith. There's a reality, it's an intelligence that we're speaking about. And so it is reaching that intelligence within. And that intelligence has many different layers of intelligence within it, which is about self-purification and the development of the soul. But I can't speak about that today. So I'm just going to start, okay? La ilaha illallah, 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 Kalimullah, Musa Kalimullah. Thank you so much.
Shukran, ya akhui. I'm sure it must be odd for some of you. I'm sure it must be odd for some of you watching us, maybe my family, that here we're sitting on Yom Kippur chanting a Muslim zikr. Well, here we are. May we be guests in each other's living rooms and walk in each other's shoes and pray each other's prayers. So we remember what we just learned from you, that we're all of the same blood. And maybe that will help the bloodshed decrease and the love increase. I got an email on just Friday morning. There was a piece on the news that the chief rabbi of Israel, who I'm honored to call my cousin, together with a important Muslim cleric, I don't remember who it was, decided to create some kind of a Muslim-Jewish, either a march or a prayer at some point in the next few weeks. And I didn't read the deal. Friday was a busy day. But we're not alone in reaching out across the borders to make one space for our praying for the unity. So thank you for joining us on this holy day, for you and for us, and for getting us started. Inshallah, we'll do this often. David Broza, what can I say about you? I've prayed your prayers before I knew that I have any of my own. And I'm going to let you tell us about East Jerusalem, West Jerusalem, your stunning new project. Choose if you want to sing first, talk first, show the video first. Do you have a preference?
I don't know. I've never done this before. So,
Neither have I.
I'm open for everything. I've been doing this for so long that I don't mind juggling the dice and seeing. But perhaps I'll give a few words background. Well, obviously, coming from Israel and living in Israel, we live in conflict night and day from the moment we're born. We're brought into this life, and it becomes part of our life. So you always wait for the next extreme moment of violence to erupt and see what that leads to. It comes as part of our folk. You know, this is our life. This is our story. And yet we don't want to succumb to that. We don't want to fall into this endless road of violence as something that is a given fact, or some of us don't, and some of us don't know that there is another way. It's all a matter of conditioning, of teaching. I feel very fortunate and lucky to have been born into a family that has always sought for the other path, one of education and conditioning for tolerance, coexistence, for listening to the other. And it's not just about Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It's about people in your society. As a matter of fact, Israel is such a complex society, since it's all built up of migration from all over the world. The diaspora has actually come to become one nation as Israel in the last 100 years. And you have one problem is the Israeli-Palestinian, but what about the Moroccan-Algerian? Have you ever tried to compare Moroccan couscous to Algerian couscous and see what the Tunisians say about that? They could kill for that and over that. In general, we have to learn how to accept, enjoy each other's cultures, enjoy each other's differences, and live by the enrichment that gives. And this is what really happens. But also there's a lot of other weaknesses in society. So I was brought up in a family of, starting with my parents, who were very socially and politically oriented and active in Israel. I was born in 1955. It's a very young country. My grandfather is one of the founding fathers of the country, coming from Britain, and along with Chaim Weizmann, the first president, and being one of the founders of one of the finest Zionist movements called Habonim. In his last years, he helped found a village, an Israeli-Palestinian village called Neve Shalom, Wahat al-Salam, Oasis of Peace, which is situated in Latrun, right between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. He brought the schooling of tolerance and through education and reconditioning of people into the house, and he actually pounded it into me night and day since the moment that I looked as if I was listening to him and I understood what he said, which was about 16, just when I was becoming anarchistic and interested in the other ways. His was a perfect other way, and I got expelled from school in England because of that. And one of the reasons. The other was just music. But I'm 59 now, and I've been carrying basically his torch in a sense, in a small way. I can't compare what I do to what he has done, and to the great moves that he's shown, and the great way that he's shown to us, to me, the family, and to our people. His name was Wellesley Aaron. However, I believe in some ways that this is what has conditioned me and taught me how to become, besides just a musician and an entertainer, also active and caring about the idea of education. And the last 3 or 4 years, I've spent creating a project which was the culmination of a 15-year process in East Jerusalem, where I've been working in a Palestinian studio in East Jerusalem, which brought me closer to Palestinian musicians and people from the arts on the Palestinian side. And 3 or 4 years ago, I had in mind to actually record an album, and through the recording of the album, bring my Israeli musicians from Tel Aviv, who would never even think of visiting East Jerusalem, let alone sitting with a Palestinian, a proud Palestinian, and playing music. And at the same time, hopefully, my hope was to bring in Palestinian musicians into the studio. The album came out a year ago, less than a year ago, 9 months ago in January. And while I was in the studio, which was a magical process which took 8 days and 8 nights of recording, we also feasted around a big table with food that was cooked for us by Israeli and Palestinian chefs, and we had wonderful wine and great music and great moments. We also filmed the process. The reason for my film, I film almost everything, but I've never edited any of my work. This time I took on a producer and a director and an editor, and had them sit and actually create a story that they thought was compelling. And this film is going to be premiered this month in the Woodstock Film Festival, and it will start showing itself hopefully in community centers and in schools and places where it can inspire other educators and students to look at the other way. In a small contribution. I can't change the world, but I can certainly change my world and what's around me. And so the album, of course, features great music with some collaborations with Wyclef Jean from the Fugees, with Steve Earle, who's an incredible singer-songwriter who came and produced the album with me in East Jerusalem, and other great Palestinian and Israeli musicians. There is a little clip, a trailer, a 2-minute
let's show it.
Perhaps now you can show that, then I'll sing a song from...
Great. So guys, maybe we can take the lights down a little bit in the house and we can watch the trailer.
I had heard that he was talking about this record. He's been talking about this for a long time.
He just said, I'm going to do it. And maybe no one else is going to show up except me, but I'm going to do it anyway.
I can sing a song anywhere. Technically, I could have recorded this album in Tel Aviv, Madrid, London, New York, Nashville, anywhere. But I had to do it in Jerusalem, in East Jerusalem. Don't want to preach to no one tonight. Just want to tell my tale. When the sun will rise tomorrow, it'll shed light on some facts from hell. Clouds are floating in the sky, shift the mood so fast, just like on the streets of Jerusalem, where the quiet's not meant to last. I'm gonna find you tonight. I'm gonna count from 1 to 3. I'm gonna feel the peace within me, with you right here next to me.
Me as a kid, all of the Israelis that I've met were soldiers. So I was very afraid from Israelis. They have big guns and I'm a little kid.
I don't have that part of me as a Palestinian. It's out.
and I get confused about it.
I don't come here as an Israeli saying I'm Israeli.
I'm gonna find you tonight. I'm gonna count from 1 to 3.
We like to be in lines, like in camps, and to know who is with who. When somebody is not so clear, you're gonna have problems. You're this guy who does not belong to us, you know? So he's probably with them.
I feel at home already.
If you just try to change, it could happen to you.
You right here next to me.
What I believe in is breaking down the walls that are in your mind, that are in your heart. And those you can only do when you establish eye-to-eye contact, physical contact. I think music and art altogether is the one area that humanity has where everything is open.
East Jerusalem, West Jerusalem, Shalom, Salam.
Thank you very much. This is very moving. First time I'm showing this, so. Besides writing music for this album, I also did some covers, which I wanted to do, of other people's songs. And this is one of them, which I thought was very appropriate. And on the album and in the film is performed by an Israeli-Palestinian youth choir from East Jerusalem and West Jerusalem. And in these times, I don't have to tell you how difficult it is to get people together. But this choir continues to come, and wherever I invite them in Tel Aviv or wherever in the country, they come together with their parents from both sides. And it's, I think this is the process we're talking about. So this is a cover I'm doing with them that goes. As I walk through this wicked world, searching for light in the darkness of insanity, I ask myself, is all hope lost? Is there only pain and hatred and misery? And each time I feel like this inside, there's one thing I want to know, is what's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? Whoa, whoa, whoa. What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? As I walk on through troubled times, my spirit gets so downhearted sometimes. So where are the strong? And who are the trusted? Where is the harmony, sweet harmony? 'Cause each time I feel it slipping away, there's just think I only cry. So what's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? Oh no, what's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? Where are the strong? And who are the trusted? And where is the harmony, sweet harmony? 'Cause each time I feel it slipping away, it just makes me want to cry. So what's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? Oh no, what's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? Oh no, what's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? Thank you, Amichai.
Can we have the house lights back up a little bit? Thank you. Thanks. We're going to be sending out the link to David's trailer and his Indiegogo campaign that's doing great, but could do even greater after Yom Kippur. It's such a gorgeous, gorgeous project, and I can't wait to see the whole thing live. And thank you for bringing your story.
Thank
in
you.
this song.
Thank you, Amichai, for everything you've been doing, building this great community. I've watched it grow year by year, and I'm absolutely in awe. I'm proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I build it so I can have things like this happening. And thanks for co-building it all these years. One of the friends I've met along the way is this dude over here, Vince Anderson, who keeps inviting me for barbecue. It still hasn't happened. Back in Brooklyn, we'll get there. But well, there were other barbecues that I have not been able to make in his backyard, but we will. But we have had the chance to groove for the Lord together here and there. We first met through this organization called Faith House Manhattan, which really brings together faith organizations and leaders regularly, and we've been grooving since. So it's an honor to have you back. And say a couple words about you, what you do, your stuff, and then lead us in a
Thank you. It's a joy to be back with you in this holy moment, on this holy day. I am a itinerant pastor. I have 3 churches, including 2 that meet in a bar, and 1 that meets wherever we can. And I am committed to holy spaces without walls, and so this holy space fits into that mission. And I want to speak a little bit about peace and how I have come to terms with that. In the Christian tradition, at the end of a service or a mass, we say, go in peace and serve the Lord. One Sunday morning, I was very tired from playing music in a bar till 5 in the morning, and I was preaching, and I messed up that benediction, and I was very tired, and I said, "Go in pieces and serve the Lord." Go in pieces. And Keith Richards would say that was a happy accident. At first I was rather embarrassed, but then I realized that happy accident, there was truth in that we cannot get to peace unless we are first in pieces. We cannot be in peace or be living in peace with one another if we are not aware of our own brokenness, aware of our own in pieces. Now, I said this happy accident right after communion. And in communion, we celebrate the brokenness in the Christian tradition, the brokenness, the breaking of the body, the breaking of the bread. And we say in that ceremony, in that ritual, we say, "Do this in remembrance." Jesus said, "Do this in remembrance of me." And how I view that is that we are the broken body of the divine. Because another saying goes that Christ has no body on earth except for us. The divine has no body except for us, has no arms, has no hands, has no feet except our feet, our hands. And so when we say, "Do this in remembrance," we literally mean that the body has been dismembered. We have been made less than whole. We have been dismembered. And in these rituals, in these sacred spots, we remember that broken body. Remember the dismembered body of humanity. Go in pieces. In pieces, because you can say that you can be whole, be made whole, but you cannot. You cannot be made whole by yourself. You can be part of the whole and be made whole with one another, with all of us. It takes all of us to be whole. because we all are broken parts of this body. I'd like to sing Peace Like a River. Okay, give me a G, and I invite you to sing and clap with me on this one. I've got peace like a river. I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river in my soul. And I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river in my soul. I got love like a fountain. I've got love like a fountain. I got love like a fountain. I got love like a fountain in my soul. I got love like a fountain. I got love like a fountain. I got love like a fountain in my soul. I got joy like a river. Joy like a river. I got joy like a river. I got joy like a river in my soul. I got joy like a river. I got joy like a river. I got joy like a river in my soul. Peace like a mountain. I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river in my soul. I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river in my soul. One more time. Yeah. I've got peace like a river. I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river in my soul. In my soul. And I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river in my soul. Amen.
Wow. I was telling someone earlier, I think Lab Shul just needs to go Pentecostal, but I don't know. We need some advice on the exact denomination, but what? Pentecostal Jews. I had the benefit and privilege earlier this week. Sarah, Isaac, Luria, you guys here? They're here, they'll be back. Sabrina, you here? Hi. All right, so perfect. I was invited by the great folks at Auburn Theological Seminary and the Groundswell Project to come to hear a great preacher prophesy. Earlier this week at Judson Church, Washington Square Park, Reverend William Barber II, who is a mischief maker and a big guy from North Carolina, a big accent, spoke his truth. And he created something called Moral Mondays about 2 years ago, where they just started meeting in front of the legislative court in the headquarters in North Carolina, in Raleigh, and just calling justice. There was so much stuff going on there, bipartisan crazy stuff, and voting rights being messed with, and just a lot of racial stuff going on. He just brought people into the town square and started singing and preaching and pushing the envelope for justice. Moral Mondays started off with, as he told us, 17 people, and now has something like 30,000 people showing up. What, 80? Just like totally faith in the service of social change. And boy, can that man preach. And the next day, we were privileged to be invited to a prophecy workshop with him. Sort of like a prophet's workshop that I got to go to. And his big tip was, never prophesy without music first. Have your minstrels on stage. To which I said to him, old news. We knew that. But it certainly works with the chanting and the music, the everything to really open up our soul. So I want to take us back, not that long ago, but long ago, to this past summer that I talked about earlier, and we talked about last night and this morning on Rosh Hashanah. And as we are here privileged to pray for peace, we know that we might not be the minority, but it's not where everything dwells. And this past summer saw another surge of violence between the Palestinian people and the Israeli people, between Hamas and Israel. We know enough not to generalize. We know that there are many on all sides who do not want conflict, but there are enough reasons for conflict to happen. This was a harsh summer with many casualties, with much dread, with a lot of confusion. Can we handle empathy on both sides? Can we be in compassion? Can we stand, those of us who are either Jewish or Israelis, and really care for our homeland and for the vision that, the vision, David, that you spoke about, that your family worked for and that you worked for? Can we stand with that vision, and can we be critical and self-loving at the same time? Can we work for peace? And it was hard doing so in Israel. It was hard doing so here. I sort of went back and forth. And at some point during this hard summer, I found myself in Washington Square Park on a Friday afternoon, invited to a vigil, a prayer for Shabbat and for peace, for compassion and empathy with both sides of the conflict, and with a sincere prayer to end the conflict, solve the occupation, and make peace. So I know I'm on tricky territory here. The Jewish people have always been people of many opinions, and we've not always been so great in tolerating other opinions. And there's been a lot of controversy and conflict, often needless, these past months, of the some of us who voiced that opinion or this opinion. And I want to be able to bring all bridge builders, peacemakers, and be here together. So the folks who were in Washington Square Park just started a movement they'll tell us about in a moment called If Not Now, that pushed the envelope for some and opened the gates wide for others to stand in the gate of peace. And they led a gorgeous ceremony before Shabbat, where we all got to light candles and pray and mention the names of all casualties. And they popped up and sang the song for peace, and I went to Yotam, who I met that day, and Libby, who I knew before, and said, "Who are you guys? What are you doing? Can I help? Can we do stuff together?" And lo and behold, here you are now. So tell us a couple of words about what you're doing. There's another mic here.
So, is this on? Oh, it's definitely on. Okay. So, If Not Now came together in the middle of the summer as many of us were sitting at home wallowing in our smallness, in just like how powerless and full of despair so many of us felt in the face of unspeakable violence and unspeakable power. And for so many of us identifying as Jews with the Jewish community, violence being committed in our names. And it really actually started in the most kind of simple human of gatherings, just a group of friends getting together and sitting to talk, and sharing became hours and hours of crying and stories. And we realized that in doing that together, we were actually building something incredibly hopeful. That act of sharing, of coming together, was in itself a powerful act, and we decided to make it even more powerful. And we decided to take it into public, and we spent the summer planning a series of protests that were expressing our opposition to the war and to the occupation, and a call for freedom and dignity for all people in Israel and Palestine. And what really what grounded the actions was Jewish ritual and Jewish tradition. So the kind of rallying call of the thing we did every single time we got together was that we read the names of every Israeli and every Palestinian who had been killed in the recent violence. And then we said the mourner's Kaddish for everyone, which for those of you who saw the words projected up on the screen today, it's the mourner's Kaddish is simply an affirmation of life, of kind of, again, reaffirming our humanness in the face of such terrible loss. And that's what all of our gatherings were centered around. We tore our clothes and we placed stones like you would at a graveside, and we did them in very public places, once in the front of the Conference of Presidents of major Jewish organizations, which was a much more overtly political act of protest, other times in public parks where we just wanted people to see us, to be engaging with us. And the other kind of really special thing that happened during that time was the terrible irony of this summer's violence happening alongside a perfectly timed Jewish calendar. So as the violence was reaching its peak, it was all of a sudden Tisha B'Av. And so, the day where we commemorate such historic destruction in Jewish history all of a sudden became a day to also really reckon with the sinat chinam, the senseless hatred, and the destruction existing around us all today, leading us into a time of reflection and mourning and repentance coming up to these high holidays. So, and I think the song that we're going to teach everyone here today was another really important part of our coming together. One of the things that we really tried to get across in our gatherings was the idea that the Jewish liberation, it's not only that we don't only want to mourn the loss of Palestinian life because we're certainly because we are humans and we want to mourn that, and also because we see our liberation as bound up together. And so you can't be free until I'm free, and if I'm oppressing you, then that's actually eating at my own soul as well, and really trying to mourn and bring to light the really deep connectedness between all of us. So that's kind of what the song is, and I was going to let you say something.
Is this one on? Yes. So we came together and started to talk about Hillel's 3 questions as Jews who are concerned about human rights and dignity and equality, sometimes with particular focus on Israel and the territories under its control. So we wanted to invite you to also think about those questions here, which are, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I am only for myself, who am I? If not now, when?
So I'm going to teach you the song, but prepare yourselves because we're going to ask you to sing it with us. But we know you can handle it because been a lot of singing. I even hear a lot of harmony, so just go for it. Just another word about the song. It's a song about peace, but it's also a song about justice. It's got justice at its core, and that's because we think you can't have peace without justice. And the other thing is the first time that we sang the song was in the middle of an act of civil disobedience where we sat in a major Jewish institution and refused to leave without a meeting with the people there to demand that our call be heard. And I think that's important to mention, not because I want to get into a political debate about it, but because this is an action song. And so I want to honor the songs that we've heard today that are about prayer and about prophecy and sort of what Amichai was saying. And I want to add that when we're in the streets, we should be singing too. And that Shabbat is a time for reflection and not for work. And Yom Kippur is like the ultimate Shabbat, like the mega Shabbat. But we have to also take this to the streets. So when Shabbat ends, that's where we have to go. So I want, when I teach you the song and when we sing it together, I want to encourage you to actually think of yourself there. Think of yourself in action. Another curious fact about this song is actually it's based on a stolen Yom Kippur Nigun. So many of you will recognize it, and it's pretty apt for today, right? And the words are right there, and they come from Hillel, so the whole thing is just lifted. It's like, please. It's all about time and place, everybody. So I'll do the melody, and we'll sort of practice it together, and then we can plug the words in. Cool. Ya da dai da da dai da da dai da 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 dai ya da dai da 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 dai 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 da dai da dai ya da dai da dai 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 da dai da dai ya da dai da dai da dai 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 da dai da dai ya da dai da dai 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 da dai da dai ya da dai da dai da dai 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 da dai da dai ya da dai da dai 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 da dai da dai ya da dai da dai da dai 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 da dai da dai. You ready to try with the words? Can we get into it a little bit? I know you can sing. I've heard it like all day. It's, you know. And also, I know that was, it's not complicated, and don't try to make it pretty. Just do it from your heart. Okay, we're gonna do it. Ya da dai da dai 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 da dai da dai ya da dai da dai da dai 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 da dai da dai. If we are only for ourselves, then who are we? As long as some are still in chains, then none of us are free. If we are only for ourselves, then who are we? As long as some are still in chains, then none of us are free. If we are only for ourselves, then who are we? As long as some are still in chains, then none of us are free. If we are only for ourselves, then who are we? As long as some are still in chains, then none of us are free. If we are only for ourselves, then who are we? As long as some are still in chains, then none of us are free. If we are only for ourselves, then who are we? As long as some are still in chains, then none of us are free.
So this evening is dedicated to building bridges and making human chains in protest, but mostly from love. And a couple months ago, I got an email from Tom, who I did not know, with a description of some of his fantastic theatrical work, and with a suggestion to do something together. And I thought, why don't you tell us something about your Sufi Jewish obsession? Teach us a little about the song that we're going to sing together, and tell us more about bridge building.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amahai, for inviting me. And this afternoon, and then of course being up here with all of this interfaith people, it's kind of for me the definition of true worship, because especially on the holiest day of the Jewish calendar, it should be an opening out. It should be an opening to ourselves, but even more so, and I think this is too rare in worship, an opening to the other. Because the only way we're going to solve violence is to erase the line between us and them. And I think that's what I've experienced. It's been, I've just been nodding my head, yep. But that is what my work has been, specifically in terms of Jews and Muslims, because growing up, my image of Jews and Muslims was that we had hated each other since Hagar was sent into the wilderness back in Genesis. And I fell into something about 15 years ago, and I kind of never stopped falling, and it was a story of interfaith relationship between Jews and Muslims, which affects Judaism to this day. And I want to talk briefly about it, and then introduce Adon Olam. The thing that has been subsumed in the political realities between Jews and Muslims today is that probably no two religious people got along better than Jews and Muslims for over 1,000 years. From the founding of Islam right up through the 19th century, there was a very strong, much positive relationship. In fact, a medieval document said that Islam was God's gift to the Jews. Widely circulated and believed, Jews had never experienced the kind of freedom they had under Christianity, and then they did experience that under medieval Islam. As part of this very wide relationship was a strong influence of Sufism, or Islamic mysticism, on medieval Jewish thinkers, and many of the most important Jewish thinkers were strongly influenced by these Sufi thinkers. And these are names like Judah Halevi or Bahya ibn Paquda, who wrote a book called Guide to the Duties of a Heart, which is still read today and is really a Sufi tract. Judaized Sufism. And it was so wonderful to be able to chant zikr, because someone who many of us might have heard of, Abraham Abulafia, who developed the Jewish prayer method, actually took zikr and Judaized that. And that is really, if you've ever prayed the Abulafian prayer method in a mystical or spiritual retreat, you're practicing zikr, almost literally. Moses Maimonides wrote a book called Guide for the Perplexed, many of us have heard of. The name came from a Sufi aphorism, which said that the closer you come to God, the more perplexed you grow. And the book itself was so influenced by Islam and Sufism that when it was circulated first in Egypt and in North Africa, Jews would go to Muslims to be taught Guide for the Perplexed. So much of this ideas, the Zohar, the Sefer Abahir, the Sefer Yetzirah, foundational Kabbalistic texts, are riffled through with Sufism. And a lot of these ideas ended up influencing medieval Kabbalists, 16th century Kabbalists and Savat, and then Hasidism. And so what I found in my studies was that so much of what we consider traditional Jewish worship is actually inspired originally by Sufi context in medieval times. And many of these ideas were antithetical or even heretical to medieval Jewish worship or traditional Jewish worship. And what medieval Jews would do is they would basically read Sufi ideas backward into the Bible. They would find the influence for their innovations in the Bible, and as one scholar said, sometimes doing violence to the biblical text. I don't think he meant literally, metaphorically. But this whole subterranean relationship that knits Judaism and Islam together, I think is so important, because the most important aspect of peacemaking is erasing that line. And that this line is a created political line, and that as you look deeper into the spirit of these two religions, I found us knit together in the most profound ways. So I wanted to talk briefly about an important Jewish figure and the writer of the piyut Adon Olam, which if you've ever been in a synagogue on Shabbat, you've sung. And it's sung around the world on Friday nights and Saturday mornings. And it was written by a man named Solomon ibn Gabirol, in the 11th century. And Ibn Gabirol was so... Oh, okay, there, I painted this painting of Ibn Gabirol, and my apologies if anybody feels that's heretical. I can assure you that never stopped me from doing anything. But so Ibn Gabirol was very deeply influenced by Sufi and Islamic thought, and yet his work did not hew to the traditional method of kind of weaving Jewish biblical references in to his writing. So he was kind of ignored and even rejected by his contemporary Jews, Solomon ibn Gabirol. Among his many works, he wrote a book called The Fount of Life, The Source of Life, Fons Vitae. It was translated in about the 11th or 12th century by a Jewish convert to Christianity into Latin. And this book circulated in Christian Europe, and it influenced St. Francis of Assisi. And the 13th century Bishop of Paris, Guillaume, said, you cannot understand Christian mysticism without understanding this book. They thought it had been written by a Christian Muslim convert to Christianity. So perhaps no one in history knits the three religions to at the core as Ibn Gabirol does, because later on Ibn Gabirol was rehabilitated within Judaism. There is an important and wide downtown Tel Aviv street named after him. And his song, Adon Olam, as we will find out and we know, is sung twice a week. And in fact, I was sitting down here with Vince and Mujahideen, and I turned to Vince and I said, we're the Abrahamic family reunion, man. This is it. But we are in this history, in this long history dating well back of kind of Judaism and Islam and Christianity knit together at our core, and yet these political differences draw a line that isn't really there. So I think, do we have our Jewish Sufi players? Okay. Well, I mean, Adon Olam, Hashem Malak, the song itself and the writing, again, grew out of his, I don't have a specific exegesis on the words itself, but everything that Ibn Gabirol wrote about was influenced by a Sufic sensuality. Sufi poetry is a very, very sensual poetry. So Sufis would tell you it's metaphor, and Jews would tell you that the Sufis were just going back to the Song of Solomon's and basing Song of David, David and Solomon, David's Song of Solomon, and basing this sensuality on biblical precursors. So you found in medieval Jews and such as Adon Olam a very sensual language, and you see it also in songs like Lecha Dodi, which is very strongly influenced by Sufism. And there was a sensuality that had not been really within Judaism, within regular Jewish Torah practice, within synagogue practice for a long time, and that as Jews became influenced by Sufism and songs like Adon Olam or Lecha Dodi, they became much more sensual representations, though of course these do harken back into Jewish history. But the Jews at the time themselves were influenced by the Sufis with whom they lived and whose work they read, whose work they translated into Hebrew, whose garb they put on, whose prayer methods they used. So it's kind of a subterranean history, and specifically with Adon Olam and songs like that, you see a kind of sensuality re-entering Jewish synagogue practice through that. Okay. And now, without further ado.
So this melody actually is a melody that's from the Sephardic tradition, and you'll find that there are some repetitive lines. We invite you to sing with us. Shira and I will be trading off verses. You can pick whichever one you want to go with. It's all good up here.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה והחפירה בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצוחב לי בצרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי ביום הקרב, בידו אף קירוחי ותישן בעירה, ועם רוחי גביעתי אדוני לי לא אירא,
Okay, we've been very Abrahamic, so now we're going to throw things around a little bit. I have not met personally the two gentlemen who are about to join us on stage, but we've emailed, and we have good friends in common. So I want to invite Reverend Robert Chodo Campbell and Reverend Dr. Koshin Paley Ellenson, who are the co-founders of the New York Zen Center for Contemplative Care. I got that right? Come join us, my friends, and lead us with a closing meditation. We can probably all scrounge in. Our brothers just came from a day of meditation and silence, smack into our talky little circle. So thank you for including this sacred day in your sacred day. We're very honored to have you, and invite you to share with us any teaching, meditation, closing. After you, we're going to do one closing song, and then go into the closing of the gate ceremony. So thank you for joining us.
So hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you all. As Amachai said, that we've just spent the day, we were with you last night here, which was such a pleasure. And now we have the pleasure of coming out of a day of silence where we were really reflecting, as many of you are, on the ethics and how we want to turn towards in this year. So in our community, we do that through silence. And basically, we just, sit and walk, and then sit and then walk in silence. So it was wonderful to know that all of you were here today doing this, and then we were doing that. And then others are doing it in so many expressions. So it's really wonderful. So I wanted just to share with you just some basic ideas from our day today. So I would ask you just to sit up in your chair. What we're going to be doing is just a very, very 3-minute reflection on presence. What we discovered today in our day of silence was that harm usually comes from inattention. And inattention causes us to not care and not love. So what we're going to do is just take a moment to practice attention and care. So just allow yourself to feel your body in your chair. See if you can allow just to feel your feet in your shoes or no shoes on the ground. Feel your sit bones in the chair. And if it's comfortable and possible, see if you can just allow your spine to be lengthened through the crown of your head. And allow your face, your cheeks, and your forehead to be soft. And allow your belly to be soft. And just for a few moments, we're just going to pay attention to this incredible, what we call spirit, or we could call it breath. Allowing yourself just to experience your belly expand with the breath coming in and the breath coming out. So if we could just take a moment to just feel your breath, nothing fancy. Thank you. And if you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes, but just notice for a moment how perhaps your body and mind have been changed by just stopping for a moment. And my wish for all of us in this room and outside the room is that we take moments to stop and reflect. Doesn't matter your tradition, but if the world can take a moment to appreciate the power and care of just stopping and reflecting and loving. Thank you.
So good evening. Excuse me. As Koshin said, we were here last night and it was such a pleasure to be with you all. It was so incredibly moving. Particularly, there was a whole list of things that we are guilty of, and it was really, really, really beautiful. In our tradition, each morning we atone for our sins. So we get off kind of lightly. We don't have to wait for a whole year and spend a day doing it. We do it every morning. So I'd like to start with that chant, and then in the evening we close with a prayer. So 2 short prayers. Can you hold this with me? So this is our morning prayer. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. And our evening prayer. Let me respectfully remind you, life and death are of supreme importance. Time swiftly passes by and opportunities are lost. On this night, the days of our life are decreased by 1. Each of us should strive to awaken. Awaken. Take heed. Do not squander your life.
So before we close, something Yotam said earlier about taking these songs, these meditations, these intentions, the zikr, and take it with us into the streets, outside this sanctuary of time, into our lives, into the daily atonement, meditation, change. There's a fantastic tidbit in our tradition that as soon as we finish Yom Kippur, these 40 days of atonement, these days of reflection, and as soon as we break our fast, the first thing we do is we go outside and we start building our sukkah. And the sukkah is this temporary booth that we put up for 1 week, a temporary shelter symbolizing harvest and hope and home and plenty and joy. And the first thing we do outside of this sanctuary after Yom Kippur, we build a new temple. We build a temporary temple for all the peace, all the joy, all the feasts, all the changes we want in the world. So, some of those prayer flags that we made yesterday and today and last week will be hung up in Sukkot. We'll be hanging them all together in the Sukkah space we'll create in 2 weeks together on October 18th. But I want to invite us to walk out of here surrounded and covered by a roof of peace, Sukkot Shalom. As indeed are the words in our prayer that we sung, and we'll sing now again. Ufros aleinu Sukkot Shalom. May the divine spread a roof of peace over us, over all of our people, over all people. And we all have the benefit, the privilege of sitting like this together, from all faiths, genders, races, choices, sexual identities, nationalities, one tabernacle of peace.
שלומך ופרוס
May there be peace, shalom, salam. How do you guys say it? Thumbs up for our coexistence. May we, to quote Reverend Vince, may we go in pieces and come back together in peace. Thank you all, brothers and sisters, for joining us for this sacred afternoon. Thank you all for being with us here in person and online, praying for peace for all of us. We are now going to transition into Ne'ilah, our closing prayer. We're going to ask our guests to join us down off stage. We're going to put the house music quietly on for the next few minutes. Please stay in this space. Let's avoid chatter. Let's avoid mindlessness. Stay present as you can. Those of us fasting, what a privilege. We're almost done. The ark is open, and the Torah in it is inviting anyone who wants to take a moment of prayer alone in front of the ark at any time between now and the end of our fast to quietly stand up and take your moments there quietly. May we meet often and soon and in peace.
شمعتي وانا رجع شتي يوم باطي في كادر